Welcome to Wear Your Cape to Work, a podcast hosted by Project Insight. We believe that project and program managers are the real superheroes of every organization. They wear their capes to work every day, and we want to celebrate them. Our guests on the podcast are project professionals who have poured their superpowers into driving successful projects across different industries. We want you to hear their stories so you can be inspired to wear your own cape to work. There's a water crisis on our planet. You might not sense it if you're living in the first world, but in third world countries, it impacts women, children, families, and farmers. Today's guest is Emma Kelly, a program manager for the Water Project, which is a nonprofit organization that partners with communities in sub-Saharan Africa to provide reliable water sources. So what is it like to manage program initiatives across an ocean and without the luxury of online project management software? Today, you'll discover that managing programs is about way more than the tech we use to keep track of them. Thank you for joining us today, Emma. We're so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat with y'all. I consider myself very lucky to have come across water early and my passion for water early in my career. So I actually started out in academic research. So I got both my undergraduate and master's degrees at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And they have a wonderful program there in their School of Public Health called the Water Institute. So I actually started there with my education, and it was also eventually my first job doing research on, it was great. It was a really great place to live and a really great place to work. So I started my career really with kind of academic research, and it was focused in mostly on community management. And that is essentially a very popular type of management style that the water sector kind of implements in rural areas in sub-Saharan Africa especially, but in lots of different places where there might not be the resources or capacity for the government to be kind of implementing full utilities and managing those themselves. So a lot of these sources are kind of point sources, and they're managed by the communities. So my first job really was to do kind of extensive academic research and the whole publication thing on essentially how to make those programs work and how to make community management work. Because it's obviously a lot to expect a community to go in and install a water system and then expect the community to be able to manage that on their own in the same way that you or I wouldn't be able to manage a utility.
No way. So you're basically saying that before you hit the water project, you were studying about how to do this in a community management environment. That was your whole study scope. Wow.
Exactly. And then after that, I really loved the topic. I decided that I wanted to take all of this stuff that I had learned through my research and get out there and get a little bit closer to the implementation and try to share that information with people that were actually installing projects and working on these big issues. So after that, I had a brief stint in the humanitarian water sector. So I was living in Jordan and providing data support to the water response in Yemen. And then eventually made my way to TWP, or the Water Project.
TWP. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know we could acronym.
Sorry, yeah. So yes, TWP and the Water Project, one and the same.
That's awesome.
What was there a large disconnect between what you were doing in academia to what you then started, being on the ground and doing?
It's a good question.
Not really. It's been really, really helpful for me understanding, first of all, the research that I was doing was in very similar context to where the Water Project works. And the Water Project, we work kind of, every project is unique, and we work through teams on the ground. So our programs in different regions look a little bit different based on the cultural context, what water sources are available, everything's a little bit unique. But a lot of our water sources, kind of their first line of management is the community. So the
Mm.
community is the one that helps us plan the project, that contacts
Wow.
us when the projects are down, perform kind of regular maintenance, or take care of the day-to-day management of the water projects. So it's really, really related, actually, to what I was doing and what I was studying. So I landed in the right spot.
That's
And that's
wonderful.
really
Yeah.
great. It's super
Yeah,
cool to see that your education like smoothly went right into the work that you were doing and that you felt like it paid off. That's so great. Can you just introduce
totally.
our audience a little bit from a high level, maybe to the work that the Water Project does in sub-Saharan Africa? I know we've talked about what you do, but maybe you can share from your side of things the broader scope of what you guys are doing there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Water Project is a nonprofit organization, and we are essentially trying to unlock human potential by providing safe and reliable water sources to people, especially living in rural areas of Kenya, Uganda, and Sierra Leone.
Okay,
Um,
those three.
so we work in those three contexts, at least for now, and we have a really actually specific geographic focus. So in each of those countries, we have a very specific area where we work. In Kenya, it's two. But for Uganda and Sierra Leone, we've got a specific context we're working in, and we're really trying to achieve what we call complete coverage or saturation of water access in those areas. So, not doing one project at a time necessarily, but creating a system of water projects that can serve the entire community.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
really is. I think that's wonderful. Rather than giving one little community and one community and one community this, it's more of a holistic approach, which I'm sure everyone appreciates as far as that's concerned. That's
Has it
Totally. And
always been
it's
like that?
so it has been like that for as long as I've been at the Water Project.
Mm.
And actually, one of the reasons I joined the team was to help with that goal of kind of creating a framework of coverage and working towards accomplishing that.
Mm,
So from kind of the program management side,
yes.
that complete coverage is our organizational strategy. And really, my role at the Water Project is to make sure that the individual projects and the work that we're doing is all in alignment with that goal of complete coverage. So we've been working on it for a few years now, and tracking our progress towards that goal, and really working towards that in all of our regions.
I'm glad you mentioned it that way because we've talked to so many project managers, but program management can sometimes be, well, what's the difference? How is a project manager different from a program manager? And I think you just said it so succinctly and articulately. You know, I'm making sure that all of the projects, are adhering to that strategic initiative, are meeting our business's objectives, are coming under that whole umbrella of what we're trying to do as an
Mhm.
organization as a whole. Would you add anything to that about what it's like to be a program manager?
Yeah, I mean, so the other big part of my role as I see it is to, you know, the first is to make sure that the projects, align with our organizational strategy and our vision. And then the other one is kind of is to be a people manager and to make sure that the people that we're working with and the people that are kind of sharing this vision and working towards that vision, whether it's people based in the United States or people in Kenya, Uganda, or Sierra Leone, that they all have the resources and are working in an environment that empowers them to be able to do the best work that they can and to work towards that vision. So yeah, the on the project end of things, my role is really making sure everything aligns. And then on the people side of things, I consider myself an advocate for for the people that are managing the projects themselves.
Yeah,
Is it
Matt, go ahead.
difficult? Yeah, is it difficult to manage the different, cultural nuances of all of the stakeholders that you're
Mm.
managing?
Yeah, there are definitely like both opportunities and challenges. Our core values at the Water Project are relationship, trust, and reliability. Um,
Mm.
so, so the relationship and trust part of that, I think, looks really, really different across different cultures. So some of the challenges that we encounter working with such an intercultural team are, people have different ideas of what trust looks like and how to build trust. One culture might be more based on,
Hmm.
trust is based on have you shown that you can accomplish the task, which I think is kind of
Right.
an
Right.
American point of view,
Yes. Get her
and
done.
common.
Just get her
Yeah,
done. Check it
exactly.
off.
Yeah, I'll trust you when I know that you can do the work and you've demonstrated that
Mm.
you can do the work.
Hmm.
Whereas some of the other people that we work with that are from different cultures, you know, they're really basing their trust on personal relationships and how well do they know
Mm.
you.
Mm.
And so that's really different. And as the program manager, it's important that I empower both of those people to
Mm.
feel that trust. So I may
Right.
have to, you know, create an environment that both is task oriented, but also
Right.
creates space for just kindness and being able to talk to each other and learn about each other's lives. So there's that can be challenging, but I think it's also a great opportunity because with that diversity of, understanding and that diversity of kind of how things are done also comes a great diversity of ideas and
Oh,
strengths.
nice.
So,
I think, yeah, what a great way to say that. I'm listening to you. I'm sure Matt's having the same feeling in our audience too. This feeling of there can be this cohesiveness in both of those sides of the coin, and I can tie all of this together. I can tell that the Water Project is pleased to have you on board because I can tell your mind is about that and that your goals are aligned with that whole process. I'm sure you've learned a lot over the time that you've been there and all the different ways that this can
yeah.
play out in different places. How is it when you come into a new community, if you've been involved in that process, where you first start getting the lay of the land and the way the people work and what their maybe basic demeanor is towards that trust and reliability, like you talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see a lot of differences across the three countries we work in what that looks like. One of our great advantages and another strength of an intercultural team is that entering of a community and that first kind of the first impression, the first moment where we walk in and say like,
Yeah.
"Hey, we're here. This is what we're doing." That usually is someone, it's not me, that is usually someone that lives in that environment, is from the same culture, is from the same context. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I really love about working for the Water Project is, um, of course, our mission is to provide clean water, but the way that we're doing that is through people and through those relationships and what we're trying to do is empower our local teams to be the ones that are interacting with communities from the beginning to the
Mm.
end. And in that way, there is a similar understanding of trust, a similar understanding
Mm-hmm.
of the environment and the context, and that those people are that work for us and our teams in Kenya, Uganda, Sierra Leone are able to have that engagement first, and straight through to the end. So it's a really beautiful process in which neighbors are seeing each other as both the community that's receiving the project and the person that's bringing it.
I think people might be thinking, how do I get involved and work at the Water Project? I love this idea. It sounds like, I know you're saying too that there are challenges, but opportunities and challenges, you said that before, and I can tell that your
Mhm.
whole team must have that, in their mind as they approach this work. Um, can you tell us about the makeup of the teams? Because I'm now imagining it, and I'm sure I'm putting it in the wrong place. You have people, the community you've talked about, they're there
Mhm.
and they're setting up, the work on site and monitoring it and reporting. Do you have other team members who are stationed in those countries to help out? Do people fly over? How does that all work with the travel in between and who goes where?
Yes, I'm very lucky that there's some travel involved for our US team because
Yay!
I get to benefit from that.
Nice.
And yeah, have amazing experiences visiting our teams and visiting the communities. But yeah, so largely the water project ourselves has two offices. So our main headquarters is based in the US up in Concord, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And then our other office is in Western Kenya. So
Okay.
although we work in Uganda and Sierra Leone as well, that is, we don't have our own office there. And then all of the teams essentially that we are working with on the ground are based, are people from the countries where they're working. So there are not a ton of, expats or Americans that are based in those offices. And then for our US team, we do get to travel on occasion and go
That's great.
and yeah, do things like trainings and coordinating on, annual budgets and some of the more
Mhm.
desk oriented stuff, but also get to go see the communities and see the projects in person, which is great.
You have allied project managers here in the audience because they know there's fun parts of projects and there's also the
Yeah.
meticulous tracking, reporting,
Mhm.
retrospective parts of projects that everybody has to do to make sure that those things can move forward the next time in a productive and efficient way. So, can you tell us maybe about one of your favorite sites you've been to or communities you've been to, or just a little bit about, if we can't go with you, what does it look like when you come into these communities? What problems are you solving for the people living there, the children, the women, who are typically having to find water for their families? How does that look? Show us a little.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a little different everywhere we work, of course, but
Hmm.
one of my favorite types of projects that we do are protected springs. So
Mm.
this is one of the project types that we do in Western Kenya, and it's such an interesting and can create such like a beautiful opportunity for the community because first, it's a water source they've been using potentially for generations.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going into a community and you're seeing this thriving. Often it's agro-pastoral, so either people who are working in agriculture and farming, or people who are raising animals, and they've got this source of water that they've been using forever and that they like.
Hmm.
But because it's not properly protected, has issues of water quality, where maybe when
Mm.
the rainy season happens and there's water and debris, kind of being washed over the land by the rain, that's all
Hmm.
getting into that spring.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
maybe during the rainy season there's issues with higher rates of disease. People have to spend what is a very small amount of income on medicine instead of you know
Mm.
uh, other things that they might use it on, school fees, on more
Oh,
food.
yes.
So
Hmm.
the cost of treating those illnesses is extremely high. And you
Mm.
come into this community and they love the source, and it provides them with life already, like they are
Right.
farming communities, like they need water to drink, but they also, it creates abundance for their farms. Um, and we get to work with them to protect that and to essentially create
Mm.
infrastructure that means that they can continue using that source that has been
Mm.
their lifeblood for
Right.
generations,
Right.
but make it safe.
Mm-hmm.
And with protected springs in Western Kenya, we provide chlorine dispensers right at the side of the spring. So the infrastructure itself protects it from a lot of contamination. And then anything that's not caught by a better constructed spring, there's chlorine going right into their jerry cans. So they've got better health. And then, one of the communities that I love the most, that I often visit when I go, um, they have continued to build on that. So
Oh, wow.
the inspiration of having the clean water and having more time to use, less time spent feeling sick,
Yes.
more opportunities to do kind of things that they weren't able to in the past. They've started a small tree farming operation where
Oh,
essentially
wow.
they're creating like these little seedlings and using the water to irrigate those and then selling them at the market for an extra source of income.
Wow.
They have constructed their own staircase to get down to the spring because it was a little bit slippery and they wanted all of especially like women who are pregnant or small
Yes.
children or older people to be able to get down there safely. And then last time I visited, they were planning a fish pond. So with
Oh,
springs,
wow.
there's extra water that runs through and they're planning to kind of dig a little bit of a pond and stock it with fish as another source of income and food. So, it's just
Wow.
unlocked a ton of potential for this community, and it doesn't stop at the spring being protected. That's the beginning, really, for them of
Right.
better health, of more time, of possible new income, and just a sense of empowerment and motivation to keep building on it and improving it, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really meaningful that that also happens in that community, right? It is the community effort. Everybody's putting that together. When your plane is landing and you're gonna, hit the tarmac, are you most excited to go see the progress that's been made? Are you jonesing to get some, food? What are you really excited about as soon as that hits there?
Okay, well, so in Sierra Leone, there is an amazing, amazing dish called groundnut soup, and it is
Mm-hmm.
essentially a like pretty spicy. I mean, my tolerance is low, but a pretty spicy peanut-based
Oh,
stew.
yum.
And it is so good. So I have to admit,
Mm.
I do get a little excited for that when
That's
when
awesome.
my wheels are on the ground at the
I love it.
airport.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things I love the most, I love engaging with the communities. I love going to schools and just
Mm.
seeing
Mm.
the children and getting to interact with the children and see how their lives have changed since bringing a new project to the school. Because we
Nice.
also do, as well as communities, we also do water projects and have a goal of making sure all schools and all healthcare facilities in our area have access to reliable and safe water.
Thank
So we
you.
have, yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, it's so fun and it's so great to see. And really, what we want is that nobody ever has to make a decision about their water and weigh that against other things. So,
Mm.
if your child has water at school, clean water at school, but comes home and your home water source is not good, then they're
Mm.
losing those health benefits. And vice versa. If you have water at your house,
Yeah.
but your child doesn't have it at school, then you're
Right.
only getting them half the time. So yeah, it's great to see the schools and then one of the things I really love is just seeing the staff.
Yeah.
And seeing our team members because there's so much joy and there's so much hospitality that is kind of indescribable. And they really always make you feel like you're at home, and it's great to hear about people who are working on master's degrees or
Oh,
you know
wow.
trying to increase their capacity to do the work even better, and their commitment to the shared vision is just astounding, and it always brings me a lot of joy to see. So
That's
Groundnut
great.
soup, we'll say, is third.
Gra-
Groundnut soup. There we go. I love it.
yeah.
So we're going to drop a link in the show notes too to your website for the water project, because one of the things I personally really love about your organization is that you very much highlight the exact communities and what's going on there. There's a
Hmm.
map, if I remember. You can go see the
Yeah.
map. You can look at the communities that are being helped or that are getting this assist, and you can dig right in and see the people there and pictures of what's going on and what's happening new. It's very
Hmm.
exciting as a supporter to have that visibility into here's where my, thought support or my financial support or my, well wishes support is going, to see what you guys are accomplishing. So we'll put that in the show notes. I have to spin
Yeah,
it back
absolutely.
to project and program management just a little bit
Yes.
because well, no, not even for the sake of the show, more because I heard you say a couple things. When you started talking about the streams, you were saying one of our project types is this
Mm,
stream project. And Matt and I are part of a project management software company. So, we do have project types, right? And it's always interesting
yeah.
to see what types of projects companies are doing out in their workplace or for their organization. So streams is one. I think I'm hearing that schools or wells or, water
Hmm.
supply at schools are
Hospital.
another,
Hmm.
hospitals, healthcare. Are there
Yep.
other project types that you guys are doing there?
Yeah, definitely. So there's kind of two different types of category that we divide our projects up into. So one is location based. So that would be the location is either a community, a school, or a healthcare facility.
Oh,
Um, so we have those three kind of project types. Um, the community the community projects are meant to serve people in their homes, essentially.
hmm.
And they're typically point sources, which means that either it's a spring or a borehole with a hand pump somewhere in the community that
Okay.
people walk to. And we try to make sure our coverage goals essentially are that everyone can walk there and back within 30 minutes. So
Oh,
they're not wasting hours of
distance.
their day,
A
yeah,
whole
going
day,
back and
right?
forth.
And just getting the
Right.
water that you need to make the day happen, right? Yeah, that's
Hmm.
Yes,
wonderful.
yes. It's estimated that I think it's in the hundreds of millions that women and children spend collecting water every day in sub-Saharan Africa. So yeah, the time component is huge. Then the other project typology that we use is essentially kind of the type of infrastructure. So we've got the protected springs. We've got boreholes with hand pumps. So those are wells that kind of drill down into aquifers, and then people can access that using a hand pump. We have uh, solar piped water systems. This is a new space that we're
Oh,
getting
Oh yeah.
into,
cool.
which we're really, really excited about. Um, we have rainwater harvesting tanks. Those are common at schools because the schools have a lot of roof, more roof than a household.
Yeah.
And then sand dams with hand pumps in
Oh, wow.
southeast Kenya. Yeah.
I'm guessing
Hmm.
we can see some of those in action on the website too if we go. So for our audience, if you're interested, you want to go check out what these different project types are. I labeled that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so like you were mentioning, Trina, on the website, there is essentially a list of every project we've ever done
Mhm.
and all the
Wow.
projects planned for 2025.
Oh, cool.
So you can see all of these, and some of them are kind of intuitive and familiar, a protected spring. A lot of us know kind
Hmm.
of what a spring
Yeah.
is. But I would highly recommend that people go and check out the sand dams, because
Okay.
even after a long career in the water sector, the water project joining this team was the first time I really learned a lot about sand dams,
Oh,
and they
wow.
are an incredible type of project. They're very, very
Wow.
cool. Yeah,
That's
so
very
definitely
neat. I'm
check
going to
those
look.
out.
That's on my assignment for
Yeah.
today and taking a look. How can our audience support some of these efforts? Because I know that's going to happen. People are listening. They're like, wow, I want to be a part of this. I want to see what's going on. Is it just a matter of going to the website?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the website, there is a list of every project that we have planned for 2025.
Okay.
You can see pictures of the community. You can read about specific people that are living in those communities, or the stories of teachers and students at a school or nurses at a healthcare facility. And you can see kind of what we've got planned for 2025, and you can contribute either specifically to a project, or
Nice.
you can contribute to something we call the Water Promise. And this is actually, I'll make my pitch as program
Nice.
manager. So obviously we all know that the monitoring and the evaluation of these projects is so important. And what we see a lot with water, is that historically organizations, you have gone in and built these systems and handed them over to the community for community management, and have not necessarily done the monitoring, and those systems break down and no one ever fixes them.
Hmm.
So if you go to the website and you see the Water Promise, that is actually an opportunity to contribute towards the continuous monitoring and repairs of these
Oh, yeah,
systems.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
So it often gets a little less attention because it's not, you know, a
It's
human
not the new
face in a new
shiny.
project. It's
Yeah,
not the new shiny, but
sure.
it's so dear to my heart as someone that is trying to make sure that we not only achieve full coverage, complete coverage, but we keep these systems going. And that's our third core value after reliability, relationship and trust is reliability. And really what the
Yes.
Water Promise is the opportunity to contribute to the reliability of these systems.
And your partnerships, I'm sure, are just fueled by that. If those systems
Yes.
are reliable, then there's that trust to continue, and that partnership, can build. And like you're saying with the one project you talked about, where people are now adding on, there's stairs, there's a pond, there's
Yes.
other things planned, that the reliability helps that advance to the next level. And that's where these, the explosion of what can happen around this water can take
A-
place. It's exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't want to provide water for a few months or a few years. We want to provide water that will sustain communities forever.
And I'm sure our audience can relate because everyone's been a part of projects where, okay, we've closed this up, we did a great job, and
Hmm.
now I don't want to come back, 5 years later and find that that all fell to the wayside. That would be sad. That would be disheartening. It would, but we've not been talking about sad work. We've been talking about really fulfilling work. It seems like today I can see by your smile and the joy that this work brings to you that you're really bringing your superpowers to work for sure. That whole podcast is really based on wearing your cape to work and the superpowers that project and program managers bring to their day to day. Would you say you had a specific superpower? What would it be?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I think if my superpower were anything, it is enabling the people around me to do the best possible work they can, and
Nice.
making sure that we have what we need, resource, and capacity wise, to accomplish that shared vision.
Congrats. That's a really big
Yeah.
skill to have. I don't know if you were born with
I
it or you
I
grew it,
hope.
but it's awesome. That's super. I have to ask one last question maybe before we kind of close things up, unless Matt has one too. But um, I talked with Tess Crick, who was one of the
Mm,
leaders of your organization. She and I have known each other some time. And I was
yeah, she's
asking
amazing.
her, oh, yes, just a delight. I was asking
Hmm.
her, how do you guys manage projects, in this humanitarian nonprofit space that spans continents? How,
Hmm.
it seems challenging in a third world country, especially when part of your project team is the community who may or may not have
Hmm.
access to internet, telephone, other communications. I think our audience really needs to stop and really consider this. You've got people who are doing tasks. You can't even reach them. You don't even know. There's no reporting back. Nobody's marking complete or I started this
Um,
task. If you're
Hmm.
not doing an online project management system, how do you guys manage your work?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a challenge.
Mhm.
Even in our offices, in Kenya, for example, there are kind of frequent rolling power outages that
Yeah.
obviously knocks out the Wi-Fi. And
Right.
yeah, there's lots of challenges with especially like communications and having our work online. We still strive to make sure that we're managing our projects in a way that is really super visible. In the
Mm.
same way that you can see the functionality of every project on the website, our management of the teams is really online.
Wow,
So
that's
a lot of
transparent.
yes, yes. So go on there. You can see exactly out of, you know, 2,000 water sources, exactly how many are working right now and how many are
Wow.
not. Um,
Mhm.
and we manage a lot of that through, we use a platform called MWater that is an
Okay.
amazing kind of uh, survey and data management platform
Okay.
that works offline.
Wow.
So
Nice.
even if you're out and you're collecting data, which, I will say the water project, we're sitting on a ton of data. The other real
Yeah.
love of mine beyond water is data. And we're working with a lot of it, and it's actually submitted to us all online, but we make sure that we work with platforms that work both offline and online. And that way, even if your power is out today, it's all being stored locally, and then you can send it when you get your power back and your Wi-Fi back.
Oh, wow.
And then the other big one is WhatsApp. Um,
Oh,
Yeah, that
there
makes
are
sense.
there are yep, there are no landlines where we're working, but you'd
wow.
be surprised by the number of people that have a phone and a WhatsApp and can be sending pretty continuous information through that platform. So that really works to our advantage, WhatsApp.
How cool.
Yeah,
Matt,
it's
did
great.
you want to follow up?
No, that's wonderful. The idea of transparency is apparent with the organization. Does that add any pressure to what you're delivering, right? You
Oh,
have your
yeah.
roadmap out publicly facing, you're saying what's not working
Totally.
publicly facing.
Hmm.
What do you do to, mitigate that a meltdown you or your team could possibly have from, that stress?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel so stressful. I think it's a bit of a call to action that we're constantly trying to improve. So actually, just yesterday we had a meeting about what we call downtime and the monthly issue surveys. So these come in and these essentially tell us every time that a water project is down and it's not
Okay.
working. And essentially, we have a great team that is constantly striving to understand those patterns better. Whether it's things like seasonality, where we suddenly see a lot of red non-functional in the map when the rain
Mm.
stops, which is natural.
Sure.
Hmm.
But we're trying to essentially constantly improve, and it's a call for us to really constantly improve our functionality and our ability to respond to problems.
Hmm.
So one thing that we're really focused on is reducing downtime. So our
Hmm.
goal is that every breakdown is addressed within 72 hours. And
Wow.
that is yes, I can say wow because it's not my job to do it,
Yeah.
but they do an incredible job, and it is not something that is you know uh it's not something everyone is doing in the sector. Like I said, there are
Hmm.
um water projects that have been sitting broken for years.
Hmm.
So we try to get that down to 72 hours. And I think yesterday in our downtime numbers, we saw that our team in Western Kenya, where our office is, they had um, resolved 100% of the problems that came up in January
Wow.
within that 72-hour period. So,
So
it's
cool.
it's not stress per se, although sometimes it feels a little bit like stress, but it really is a call to just continuously improve our systems.
That's great. I mean, you can tell why you are such an asset there, right? Even as you entered the
Yes.
career and building this framework, right? That just like all good project and program managers do, it's not a matter of, what do I do? It's nope, here's the plan, and this is how we're going to resolve what we need
Yes.
to. And I clearly you've had a long lasting career in doing that. That's really wonderful.
Yeah, and you really shine that ability to stay level in both the opportunities and the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Matt, I know you heard it too, but I heard Emma say that, we're learning how to do these problems or these issues better next time. It really
Yeah.
is okay. We face them and then we take that challenge and maybe we even go next time we're going to use those exact objectives and try to do it a different way. That's really the way to continued success for the organization. We know that. And you bring these strengths to the water project. And I know there's more people just like you on the team, just dedicated to this initiative and this vision for what can happen in sub-Saharan Africa. We're so pleased to have you and your organization as a part of the Wear Your Cape to Work podcast. I hope you enjoyed your time today. And I know our audience is loving it. We're going to drop all those links in the chat. And we're just so pleased to be behind you and support your efforts.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm so honored by the opportunity to come on and talk to you and talk a bit to your audience and really to highlight the great work that the Water Project is doing. I'm lucky to be their program manager.
Oh, they are lucky too. Thanks for being here, Emma.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today on the Wear Your Cape to Work podcast, hosted by Project Insight. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, follow, or leave us a comment. If you subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or other favorite podcast channels, you'll receive notifications of all of our new episodes. We'd also love it if you would share Wear Your Cape to Work with your network of PMPs or anyone else who might enjoy the show. Project Insight is an online project and portfolio management software that helps companies connect project data from across all of their teams and software tools so that they can make confident decisions about their business. Our website is projectinsight.com, and there you can find many resources for project professionals, including free PDU webinars, as well as a place to register for a demonstration or a consultation with one of our success teams. Thank you once again for joining today's conversation, and most importantly, thanks for wearing your cape to work.